This Highborn Covenant list is being led by Gorten Grundback, and his battle group is a Gorten Earthbreaker. Attached to Gorten, but outside of his battle group, is Sylys Wyshnalyrr, the Seeker. There is Thor Steinhammer, an Ogren Bokur, Dirty Meg, Gorman Wulfe, Rogue Alchemist, Rupert, and Eris, Angel of Retribution. There is a full unit of Forge Guard, a unit of Tactical Arcanist Corps, and a full unit of Precursor Knights with UA. And that's 50 points of Highborn Covenant. The Khador list is being led by Kommandant Irusk, and his battle group is Conquest. And attached to Irusk is Sylys Wyshnalyrr, the Seeker, and there is Reinholdt, Gobber, Speculator, who's not attached, with a minimum unit of battle mechanics, Great Bearers of Gallowswood, Gorman Wulfe, Rogue Alchemist, a unit of Kayazy Eliminators, a unit of Greylord Ternion, a unit of Widowmakers with the Widowmaker Marksman, and a full unit of Black Dragon Iron Fang Pikemen with the Iron Fang Kovnik. And that's 50 points of Khador. We are playing the Steamroller 2014 scenario, Incursion. The difference between this version and 2013's version is that the central flag always stays, while the flanking flags disappear. The central flag can be controlled and dominated for 1 control point, while the flanking flags can be controlled for 1 control point and dominated for 2 control points. Scoring starts on the second player's second turn, and the first to 5 control points wins the game. We roll off to see who goes first, tie, and roll again. Khador wins the roll-off and chooses to go first. Conquest pre-deploys in the center of the table, that way he can go wherever he wants to. The Gorten Earthbreaker also pre-deploys in the center of the table, that way he can abuse his awesome guns as much as possible. And here's them facing off. Khador deploys flanking the Conquest in order to provide support towards it, with the Black Dragons on the right flank of the Conquest, with Irusk, Reinholdt, Iron Fangkov, the Greylord Ternions, and the Great Bears are to the left flank of Conquest, with Gorman and the Kayazy Eliminators. And here's how the deployment looks in regards to the Earthbreaker. Highborn Covenant deploys in a similar manner towards providing flanking support to the Earthbreaker, with the Forge God on the right flank and the Tactical Arcanist Corps. And Thor Steinhammer and Dirty Meg are behind the Earthbreaker, with Gorten and Sylys to the left flank of the Earthbreaker with the Precursors, their UA, and Rupert. Rupert's with the Precursors to give them Tough, Pathfinder, and Dirge of Mists, while the Forge Guard are basically just roaming around to catch the left flank flag if it does not disappear, and there's Nate pointing out Dirty Meg behind Earthbreaker. And here's how the two armies are deployed relative to each other on the whole table. Khador advance deploys the Widowmakers across the table from the Forge Guard, looking for some amazing sniping action. Those are some dead dwarves in the future. Highborn Covenant advance deploys Eris inside the forest to the left flank of Earthbreaker, and Gorman slightly but not really advance deploys also to the left flank of the Earthbreaker. That's right, Gorman has advance deploy from the Highborn Covenant rules as he is a mercenary solo. Khador, turn 1. Irusk gains all 7 of his focus, and then allocates 1 to Conquest. The Black Dragons start off the turn and activate and run. Some of them go on the hill, some of them spread out to be essentially in a nice line formation to maximize their reach coverage and not to block anyone off for potential charges or other things like that. Then Irusk activates and casts Superiority onto the Conquest. This upkeep spell gives it +2 defense, +2 speed, and +2 mat, and it cannot be knocked down. Then Irusk moves up and casts Iron Flesh onto the Black Dragons, which is also an upkeep spell, and gives them +3 defense, but -1 speed. However, there are Precursor Knights across the table from the Black Dragons, so this spell seems kind of pointless. The Greylord Ternions activates and advance, with this guy trying to go around Conquest's right arm. And then one Ternion puts a cloud on the Black Dragon officer, giving him concealment, which is +2 defense against ranged and magical attacks. And then the second one here, trying to determine if he's in range of anything to put a cloud on, using Irusk's control area, and I determine that he's not. So eventually I just place a cloud onto Irusk himself. And the last Ternion is out of range of anything, which can easily be seen just by eyeballing it. He tries anyway, and he fails. Conquest then activates and spends his one focus to run a mighty 12 inches, thanks to Superiority. Then Sylys activates and runs. Reinholdt activates and advances to be base-to-base with Irusk. He then does Spyglass on Irusk, measuring the distance from the Conquest to the Earthbreaker, which is about 18 or so inches. The Kovnik activates and runs. The Iron Fang Kovnik, that is. Gorman activates, advances. Actually, he runs. The Widowmakers activate and they run, trying to spread out a little bit for the preventing them from dying in multiple ways to the Tactical Arcanist Flame Blast spells. Then the Widowmaker Marksman activates and also runs. The Battle Mechaniks activate and they run behind the Conquest, with their only sad speed 5, which is rather interesting to see on infantry models that don't have any armor whatsoever. Then the Kayazy Eliminators activate, and because they have acrobatics, they really don't care about intervening models, so they just run around. Then the Great Bears activate and they charge, so that way they can move through this forest that's in front of them, and they're all charging Earthbreaker. And then Cole stops because his base touches a battle mechanic. Highborn Covenant, turn 1. Gorton gets all 5 of his focus, and allocates 1 to the Earthbreaker. TheOgrunbakur starts off the turn and activates and simply advances. Then Thor Steinhammer activates, does tune-up on the Earthbreaker, choosing for boosted damage rolls on all the attacks of the Earthbreaker, and then simply advances as well. Eris activates and advances on top of the hill to her right. She's staring mighty hard at the Conquest. She's looking to disrupt Conquest, but Colossus can't be disrupted. We forgot about this at the time. And she automatically misses with double ones. Rupert activates and gives Pathfinder to the Precursor Knights and advances. The Precursor Knights activate and then run through the forest. The reason why I said that it was a bad idea to have Iron Flesh on the Black Dragons is that the Precursor Knights have Blessed Weapons. Blessed Weapons allow the model with said weapon to ignore spell effects that add to defense and armor. Precursor Knights are also Mat 7 base, so this means that they will have an easy time hitting the Black Dragons. So, there's that. And then Gorton then activates, and he casts Solid Ground, which means on all models in his control area, they cannot be affected by blast damage. He also casted Strength of Granite onto the Earthbreaker, which gives it +4 strength, and it's a model in his battle group, and he also advances after doing so. Both spells, that is. The Earthbreaker activates and advances its speed of 4. And Nate's being here very precise on his movement by using a focus token, and simply moves up the Earthbreaker. He then rolls to see how many shots his rotary cannon gets, and there's 2 shots for it. And this is on the one on the left arc. And he's now firing off some torpedoes to lay down some rough terrain, just to slow some of my models down. And it's only a range of 10 inches, so we're basically rolling for deviation, and is going 3 inches. Which is short 3 inches, so it's placed there. And the next one is going to the 5 inches. And so I hold the template for him, and then it scatters off, placing rough terrain. These are AoE 4 as well. The Forge Guard activate and they run, staying a defensive line, which gives them +2 armor when they are base to base with another model in their unit. So they're a mighty armor 18. But Widowmakers don't care about armor because they have the sniper rule. The Tactical Arcanist Corps activate and advance. Then each one places a smoke cloud within an inch of them, which gives them concealment, which is also +2 defense to range and magical attacks. Then Dirty Meg activates, advances to be base to base with the Earthbreaker, and Gorman activates, advances, and also places some smoke as well. We ran out of rings for smoke, so just use an upkeep token for Gorman's smoke. And we're seeing which flag goes away on the flanks, and the flag on the right disappears. Khador, turn 2. The clouds from the Greylord Ternion disappear at the start of the turn in the maintenance phase. Then Irusk gains all 7 of his focus and upkeep superiority for free, and pays 1 to upkeep Iron Flesh. He then allocates 3 to the Conquest. Holds on to the rest. Conquest then activates and advances. And then a little bit more off to the side. And angles to have both of the linked guns on the shoulders to have line of sight towards the Earthbreaker. Then the left linked guns fires at the Earthbreaker. It is range 12, PAL 12, AoE 3, and the first shot is in range. The shot hits with a rad of 4 on defense 9, healing 3s, and this is die -8, and causes 1 point of damage to the 3 on the right side of the Earthbreaker, with my choosing. The link gun has a special rule saying it can fire twice at the same target if it's still alive, and so it fires, hits, but does no damage. Then the right link gun fires at Earthbreaker as well. Again, needing only 3s to hit, and this shot hits, and the damage roll is boosted and causes only 2 points of damage to the 6, also on the right-hand side. The link gun fires again, thanks to his special rule, and it hits, and damage is also boosted again, and there is no damage, with a 7, with die -8. The main gun then fires at Earthbreaker, with range 15, POW 15, AoE 4, and critical devastation. And so, critical devastation occurs with an automatic hit, but the Colossal cannot be moved outside of his activation, and this is die -5, which causes 7 points of damage to the 6 on the right-hand side. Critical devastation is a very nice special rule. It throws all models under the AoE and causes crazy amounts of stuff to happen. Widowmakers then activate and one Grunt aims. The Capitan aims. A Grunt aims. And the last Grunt advances, just to be sure that he's in range. The Widowmakers are Rat 7 natively, and Forge Guard are Defense 10, so they need 3s to hit, and they are range 14 with the Sniper special rule, so they really don't care about the Armor 18 on the Forge Guard and defensive line. And this shot hits, and he chooses to forego Sniper, doing an automatic point of damage, killing this Forge Guard outright. And then he moves 2 inches back thanks to Swift Hunter from the Widowmaker Marksman. Another Grunt fires. He's Rat 9 because he aimed with the +2 from aiming, needing not double ones. He hits, and also does a Sniper point of damage, killing his Forge Guard, and does a Swift Hunter move back. The Capitan then fires at a Forge Guard. Is in range, hits, and chooses to do Sniper as well, killing this Forge Guard, and she also chooses to Swift Hunter back. The last Widowmaker fires at another Forge Guard. He's in range, and he needs not double ones to hit, and he hits and snipes that Forge Guard, and Swift Hunters back 2 inches into the forest. Then the Widowmaker Marksman activates and slightly moves up. And he's Rat 8 natively, so he needs not double ones to hit, and is also range 14. He barely hits and snipes that Forge Guard, and has Swift Hunter himself. He grants it to other Widowmakers as part of a leadership. And the Forge Guard passed their massive casualties with the double one. Gorman activates, advances, and does Black Oil onto the Conquest. Because Black Oil is a named special rule, and because I applied it, Black Oil expires at the start of my turn rather than having to wait for it to expire on my opponent's, Gorman's, turn. So that's a very nice safety tech there for Colossals. Then the Kayazy Eliminators activate, and they simply just run around. The Great Bears then activate, and they choose to run. Widowmakers having some rough terrain difficulties, and then he just runs just fine. Widowmakers and Kulsk then soon follow him. Widowmakers being the bald guy, and Kulsk being the guy with the helmet, who is the most important member of the Great Bears, which gives the entire unit steady. Each model inside the Great Bears gives the unit a different special rule, with Widowmakers giving them 360-degree front arc, and Volkov giving them relentless charge. The battle mechanics activate, and they run to be base-to-base with Conquest. The Iron Fang Kovnik then activates, and does Shield March onto the Black Dragons, which gives them +2 inches of movement when they receive a Shield Wall order. So this is essentially Desperate Pace, but only on Shield Wall. And it is a special action from the Iron Fang Kovnik. And so, the Black Dragons are looking to be in groups of 3, that way if one model dies, this guy refuses to stay, so he's proxy-based. If one model dies in this trio, the other 2 will still have their Shield Wall bonus. That way they can stay alive for much longer. And then they do their mini-feat, Iron Zeal, giving them +4 armor and cannot be made stationary or knocked down. Reinholdt then activates and does Spyglass onto Irusk, who then chooses to measure the distance between Eris and the Earthbreaker. Eris' stealth, it only works against ranged and magical attacks, not for something like this. I made sure about the rule. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. So there's 8 inches between Eris and the Earthbreaker. Then the Greylord Ternion activate and advance up, and they're looking to place more clouds. So one Ternion places a cloud on a battle mechanic, with the idea here to block line of sight, and another Ternion puts a cloud on the Kovnik, and the last Ternion places a cloud onto the Black Dragon officer. Then Irusk activates and advances around, hiding behind the clouds, hoping that these models don't die, and then he pops his feet. All models in his control area gain +2 Mat and Rat and Fearless and Tough. Models/units in his control area gain Tough. Models in his control area have Super Tough, which is a 4-up tough, and they cannot be knocked down. and then Sylys activates and walks around. Highborn Covenant, turn 2. The rough terrain from Earthbreaker disappears, and so do the clouds from the tactical Arcanist core. Gorton upkeeps Strength of Granite or Solid Ground, whichever one of the two, for free thanks to Sylys, and then allocates 3 to the Earthbreaker. Eris then activates and advances to Conquest, and tries to take a shot again to disrupt, which Colossus cannot be disrupted. This is something we didn't know at the time. I looked it up later on. And does a sniper point, and at the moment causes disruption to the Conquest again. Colossus cannot be disrupted. Rupert activates and gives Pathfinder to the Precursors once again. And then the Precursors issue a charge order. They're speed 6 with no reach, so they're charging 9 inches. And I'm just turning around the Black Dragons here because their blasting pikes get in the way a lot. They really do. Ask anyone with infantry models that have halberds, sticks, staves. They really get in the way a lot. So it's kind of annoying to deal with, but hey, we have to. So one Precursor Knight is just being proxy based, since he will be unstable on the hill here. And there he goes with the base. And the Precursor Knight Officer just also charges in, and the rest of them make it in perfectly fine. And one of the shields just fell off at the moment too. And this guy ran up, and so did the Standard. And then they pop their mini feat, which is Power Swell, which makes them Weapon Masters for a turn. They get an extra die of damage rolls. So they're swinging 4 dice at me to hit, and they're Mat 7 on defense 13, and he needs 6s to hit. And this first attack hits and kills him, and he fails his tough roll. Then the next attack hits, needing 6, misses. He needs a 6, not a 5. And this next attack goes, hits, and kills him. A lot of the footage in this section here is kind of missing, so especially when I am attacking his Precursor Knights. So if things seem off, you know why. This Black Dragon passes his tough check and is steady. Remember, 4 up tough to models in Irusk's control area. Then he hits, and this, well, apparently I have a duplication of, and we have a quad 6 damage roll here. And he fails the tough roll. See here how, well, actually no, not right here. I don't remember exactly where the placing in this in the recording of where we have the missing clips. I definitely know it's in this combat. So we have another tough roll here to make, and he fails. Their maces are either Power Strength 12 or Power Strength 13. I don't know off the top of my head right now. I think they're Power Strength 12. So we have a lot of misses going on here. Then we have another hit here. See, here we have the missing footage of the declared attacks. So this is something that we recorded all the attacks, so it's kind of weird. Thora then activates and does boosted damage rolls onto the Earthbreaker, and Dirty Meg moves up to be base to base with the Earthbreaker and does a repair check and repairs for 3 damage. Actually, that was Thor, not Meg. Meg hasn't activated yet. Then Earthbreaker activates and moves up, and his first rotary cannon gets 2 shots. And these are Power Strength 13. Power 13, not Power Strength. And it's Rad 5 versus Defense 9, so this one hits, does no damage. Next one hits, and does no damage. Next one hits. Actually, this shot does 1 point of damage to the right side. Then the next rotary cannon does 3 shots. Well, gets 3 shots. And this first shot hits, and does a crazy 6 points of damage to the 2. It's quite a bit for Power 13 gun. Next shot hits, and does 4 points, actually 5 points of damage to the 6. And the last shot goes at Conquest, and this shot hits Also -7, and he's rolling quite well for damage here, doing 8 points to the 3. And then the torpedoes from the Earthbreaker go, and one shot is being declared at Yarovich, and is in range with a range of 10. I believe these are power strength 13 as well. So the first shot is boosted and hits, and so this damage roll is on Yarovich, and that kills him outright. However, he's under Irusk's feet turn, and he makes his tough roll. And so now we have blast damage on Kolsk, and that does no damage. And he... Actually, that was on another one on a Kayazy Eliminator, so she failed. And so now I'm just double checking to make sure that the other Eliminator is out, using a direct hit blast key. All the templates you're seeing here are from Arsenal. Highly recommend these. And then the next torpedo fires at Conquest, which hits and does some amount of damage. Let's see how much I put in here since I had it right. Okay, 6 points to the 3. And then Gorman activates and advances on top of the hill. He's just trying to decide where to go. And he goes right there. And I believe he wants to... Oh, he just places smoke again. He hasn't black oil yet. And then Gorton activates. And we did a mistake here, which you will see in just a second. Gorton charges Conquest. Since he failed his charge, his activations end immediately right now. But he pops his feet. This is something I forgot to catch him on. So Gorton's feet, if you don't know what it is, since he's focus 5, his control area is 10 inches. He chooses a table edge. Any table edge. And Models is currently in his control area when he pops his feet. Gorton is in there. And the Iron Fang Kovnik is not. Models that are in his control area when he pops the feet are pushed to that chosen table edge up to 8 inches. And so he chooses my table edge. And so, since there's rough terrain at where the Great Bears are, Kolsk just moves 4 inches. And he also chooses the order of who is pushed. And Gorman moves. Then Volkov moves and stops at the Kayazy Eliminator. And Yarovich moves and stops at Volkov. Remember, if you're pushed and you hit another base, you don't move. Conquest isn't pushed because he's a Colossal. And then the Battle Mechanics move. So one of them goes and stops at Sylys. And another one is pushed all the way. I also forgot to mention that if you're affected by the feat, you have -3 speed, -3 rat, and you cannot shoot or something there that I cannot remember. Let me look at War Room since I have it up here. Of course, the rest of the battle mechanics are being pushed at the moment, and this guy has a cloud on him, and the cloud will follow him, which is something I always really liked. And then we have a black dragon moving as well, and since it's a push, it does not cause free strikes. Here we go. It's -3 speed, rat, and defense. So this black dragon is finishing off his push move. And this black dragon is pushed and just stops from his fellow brethren. And that's it for the pushes. So Sylys then activates and walks up. And then the Forge Guard activates. And they've lost half their unit. They're just moving up to potentially contest. But they're not base to base or anything. So they can't contest, they can't score. And they lost half their units, so they can't score, period. The Tactical Arcanist Corps advance and move 4 inches. Ever so slowly. And they place more clouds on themselves. Making them from defense 11 up to 13. And then Eris is contesting the main flag in the center, so there is no control points. Khador, turn 3. The clouds from the Greylord Ternion expire. In the maintenance phase, of course. So do all of these special rules. And black oil as well from my Gorman. Irusk gets all 7 of his focus. And upkeeps. He lets Iron Flesh drop and upkeeps superiority on Conquest for free. The Widowmakers activate, and they all aim. They're looking to finish off what's left of the Forge Guard unit. So the first Grunt takes a shot at a Forge Guard, is easily in range, again needing not double ones to hit. He hits, and snipes him out. And Swift Hunter's back once again. The next Grunt fires at another Forge Guard, again not needing double ones to hit, and is in range. He hits, and snipes him out as well. And that was the leader, so there's a field promotion involved. And then he Swift Hunter's back as well. The Capitan fires at another Forge Guard, and she hits and snipes him out. And then they do another massive casualties check, and they're fine. And so the Capitan Swift Hunter's back once again. And the last Grunt fires at a Forge Guard. And the camera zoomed in here, which we didn't know at the moment of recording. And so he hits and snipes. And there's a roll there. Crazy roll. And there's just a unit leader left. And the last Grunt, Swift Hunter's back. The Marksman activates, walks up to be base to base with the flag, and fires at the last Forge Guard, is in range. Again, not needing double ones as he's Rat 8, and fires and snipes him out, which finishes off the Forge Guard completely. Then the Battle Mechanics activate, and they're only speed 2 because of Gorton's feat, which again should not have happened because he failed the charge. And then Sylys activates, and simply walks around to be base to base with Irusk, even though there's no need to do so, and gives Irusk Arcane Secrets, which is on magic attacks, you gain an additional die on attack and damage rolls, and you drop the lowest. The Greylords activate, and they advance up. And then one does Frostbite, which is spray 8 cold damage against Gorman. And even though precursors have Spell Ward, they can still be affected by spells, they cannot just be targeted by them. And so now we're rolling to hit, and so far they've missed. And this one just killed this small base proxy, which was a precursor knight. And this goes on to Gorman, who is hit, needing a 7 as he's defense 14. And he is left with 1 box left as he's armor 12, and the spray is power 12 to being die even. And so one Greylord Ternion sprays at Eris, hitting her exactly with what he needed, with a 9 as her magic ability 7, and he kills Eris outright. And there she goes. And the last Greylord Ternion tries to put a cloud onto the one on the hill, just for the sake of it, and he's in range. Then Irusk activates and walks up to be on the hill, behind the cloud, and he casts Grind and boosts to hit onto Gorton. Grind is POW 14, range 12 spell, and the Warjack that is hit loses its first box on its movement system. But Irusk misses. He actually didn't boost to hit. And so he casts Battlelust onto the Iron Fang Kovnik. And so checking control area to make sure that the Kovnik is in charge range of Gorton. And he also took a shot with his sword cannon, which hit with the 10, but does no damage. And another shot was taken and he misses. So the Iron Fang Kovnik then charges Gorton. He's speed 6 with reach. He's mat 7 power strength, 12 weapon master, hence why he has Battlelust on him. So he's rolling 5 dice on damage against Gorton. And he's in reach range. He needs a 6 to hit. And he hits. Again, rolling 5 dice of damage. And he does 8 points to Gorton. As Gorton was... I don't remember what I rolled now. Oh well. Damage counts. The 8 damage, that's what mattered. And so now the Black Dragons now activate and they advance up to start fighting the Precursor Knights. Once again. because they were hoping there was a flag there, but it disappeared on them. So it's basically they're just fighting each other for the sake of it. And so now we might have some missing footage here once again as compared to before. So one black dragon attacks the precursor officer, hits him, and is die -1 as their armor 14, and kills the precursor officer exactly, rolling 5 damage on him. And there he goes. So we have an attack here on a precursor knight. Is in range with reach. And this attack hits and kills. And so we have another attack which hits and kills. Then we have another attack declared here, which hits and kills. So now there's going to be a bunch of footage of just precursors being removed since, again, that footage just disappeared. See how I have the order mixed up here? And then we have another attack being declared on the standard bearer, which hits, critically knocks him down, but kills him anyway. And he chooses not to take up the standard. And now the last Eliminator that's alive runs and decides to be in the way of the Earthbreaker to prevent the Earthbreaker from charging Conquest. And now the Great Bears activate, and they simply walk back. So that way they can potentially have a charge lane next turn, and also just not be in the way of anything. Now Gorman activates, and he decides to throw a black oil at Earthbreaker, but he's out of range. And so we're scattering from the point of the focus token, and we removed Earthbreaker from his base, just to be sure exactly. And so black oil scatters direction 1 inch. That is a muddy scatter. Black oiling the Earthbreaker. And then Reinholdt simply walks up to be base to base with Irusk. And so there were 2 control points scored because Eris is dead and the Widowmaker Marksman is base to base. Highborn Covenant, turn 3. The clouds from the Tactical Arcanist Corps disappear in the maintenance phase. Then Gorton gets all 5 of his focus, drops Strength of Granite from the Earthbreaker, and upkeeps Solid Ground thanks to Sylys Wyshnalyrr for free. Then Thor activates first and moves base to base with the Earthbreaker. He does a repair check and succeeds, and repairs 5 damage from the Earthbreaker. It's essentially fully functional with only 1 box left. And then Dirty Meg activates and fails her repair check. Gorton activates and moves to be in melee range of the Iron Fang Kovnik. He attacks the Iron Fang Kovnik and hits with Forge Father and boosts damage and kills him outright, rolling die -3. Then Gorman activates and advances, and he's looking to black oil Conquest as well. He hits, and Conquest is black oiled. Notice the theme here. And then Rupert activates and advances and gives heroic call to the precursors, which is fearless and tough. And the precursors activate, and they charge. They issue a charge order. And Greylord Ternion decides to fall off the hill, so we just place him back. And remove the cloud just so the models can be safe and sound sitting onto the hill. And the other precursors knights shuffle around, not moving 3 inches so they can't get a charge bonus. And they shuffle some more. So now we finally get to some attacking here. And one attack misses. Next attack hits and kills a black dragon. So we have more lost footage here, with a bunch of black dragons dying with no rolls to speak of. So now we have an attack on a Greylord Ternion, which hits and kills him outright as he's only armor 13, defense 13. So then there's a field promotion involved. I really wonder what happened to the precursor versus black dragon footage. It's so strange that this happened. So the Earthbreaker activates, sacrifices action, and just simply moves. The Ogrenbreaker activates and just walks up. And the Tactical Arcanist Corps activate, and they run to contest the left flag. And the guy in the very back is not sure where he goes, so he just follows his other fellow dwarves over the wall of crates. And so, since everything's being contested, there is no scenario increase whatsoever for either side. Khador, turn 4. Irusk gets all 7 of his focus and upkeep superiority on Conquest for free. And Black Oil also disappears. The Widowmakers activate and aim once again. But the guy in the forest simply moves up a little bit just to be in range. Now they're firing at the Tactical Arcanist Corps. They need 3s to hit. Actually, not double ones since their defense 11. And this one hits, and their armor is 16, so this is die -6. So that causes 1 point of damage. Sorry, 3 points of damage to that Arcanist Corps that was hit. And so the next Widowmaker fires. He needs a 4 to hit. And he hits, knocking over the Capitan in the process. And he's die -6, so he does only 2 points of damage to him, but it kills him enough, since he was previously hit with 3 points of damage. And so he Swift Hunters back once again, and another Widowmaker fires at another Arcanist Corps. Is in range, needs not double ones, and hits, and rolling die -6, and does only 1 point of damage. And the last Widowmaker fires at the same target, is in range, needing not double ones to hit, and hits, rolling die -6 for damage, and does 4 points, killing the last Arcanist Corps. And he Swift Hunters forward, and the Tactical Arcanist Corps pass their massive casualties check. And we had a damage roll here from the Widowmaker Marksman, which only does 1 point of damage to the last Arcanist Corps, who's still alive. And so the Greylord Ternions activate and they move around. This one's actually going to do a... Well, this one first is going to do a Frostbite at Gorman to finish him off. And just barely misses Gorton. Actually, it hit him. And so we need a 7 here to hit Gorman. And he dies because he only had 1 point left. And so now this roll is on Gorton, who is hit, but since he has a lot of focus on him, that does no damage. So now this Greylord Ternion is going to try to hit our Precursor Knight with his Rune Axe. First time I ever using it, I think. And he misses. With only a rate of 5, he needs an 8. And so Sylys activates and puts Arcane Circuits once again onto Irusk, and Reinholdt is putting Lucky onto Irusk, which allows him to choose to put a extra die on a damage or attack roll and dropping the lowest. So stacking with Sylys, that makes it 4 dice. And so Eliminator has acrobatics, can charge through the Earthbreaker, ignoring it, not taking a free strike, and she charges Thor Steinhammer, hits him, does a combo strike being power strength 13, and kills Thor Steinhammer. She then sidesteps over to Dirty Meg. Gorman then activates and advances. And guess what? Another Black Oil happening at Earthbreaker, who's hit and is Black Oiled again. And the battle mechanics activate and they advance to be base to base with Conquest, and they're looking to start repairing this baby up. The first one fails, and the second battle mechanic, they repair skill check 7 by the way, he passes and he heals d6 damage, and 5 points are restored on Conquest, bringing the right arm back up fully operational. And the third battle mechanic passes his skill check and also repairs 5 damage from Conquest. And the last battle mechanic fails his skill check. The Great Bears activate and Volkov issues a charge order. So Volkov is charging the last Tactical Arcanist Corps. Yadovich is charging the Ogryn Bokur. They all have reach. They're power strength 12 weapon masters, and they're all mat 8. And Kulsk, not having any other targets really, he just decides to charge the Earthbreaker. And of course he's in range. Yep, Volkov takes his charge attack and chooses not to backswing, which would give him another attack. And he hits at the Tactical Arcanist Core. And he's die -4. Being power strength 12 and a weapon master, he just takes out that Arcanist Core outright. Yadovich chooses not to backswing as well, swinging at the Bokur. He needs a 5 to hit, since the Bokur is defense 13. He hits, and the Bokur is armor 17, so he is die -5, and that kills the Bokur outright with 8 boxes. Kulsk chooses to backswing onto the Earthbreaker, and he hits, and he is die -8, and he does 6 points to the Earthbreaker, and it has precise strike, so he chooses to put the damage on the 5 on the right-hand side of Earthbreaker. And then he does his backswing attack, which he must do, and he attacks and hits Earthbreaker, also a die -8, and does only 5 points to Earthbreaker, and he chooses to put it on the floor. Irusk then activates, and he does an assault onto Gorton out of desperation to end the game already. So he makes it, and he does his assault shot, and he hits with the shot, and I choose to put all to boost and to use Lucky on this sword cannon shot, and does only 1 point of damage to Gorn. And now his initial charge attack, which misses. And then Irusk then casts Grind onto Gorton, and he misses with Arcane Secrets. And so, realizing I can't kill Gorton right now, Irusk puts Iron Flesh onto himself, being defense 18. Then Conquest activates, and we remove Earthbreaker from his base just to be sure, just so I can have the Overhanging Fist move into melee range with Gorton, where if he doesn't kill Irusk, Conquest will surely kill Gorton in the following round. Black Dragons then activate, and they shield wall once again, stuck in engagement with these precursors. And now the footage is actually fine for this fight, which is very weird. The first Black Dragon attacks and misses. The second one attacks, hits, kills, but he fails his tough roll. And then we have a field promotion. And the last Black Dragon attacks, hits, well, actually misses automatically. And there's no change in scenario once again, as everything's being contested. Highborn Covenant, turn 4. Black Oil from Conquest expires, and Gorton gets all 5 of his focus. He then turns around into melee with Irusk, attacks and misses. He then attacks again, boosts to hit and misses. He's mat 7, so he needs 11s to hit. He then buys an attack and boosts and misses. He then buys another attack and misses. He buys one more attack and automatically hits, causing a critical slam, slamming Irusk 1 inch away, and does only 7 points to Irusk. Because Gorton cannot kill, he concedes, and that results in a final scenario score of 3-0, but also a Khador victory.
So that was a very interesting game now, wasn't it, Nate?
Yeah, definitely it was. It's interesting. It's always fun for me to use the Earthbreaker in the last couple of weeks that we've done it. This was kind of supposed to be the big boys versus big boys, but it turned into,
Yeah.
let's swing at each other.
Mainly because we both decided to bring Gorman in our list, and then Black Oil happened, and Talk about Colossal being ineffective.
Well, I also had E-Iris in mind, so it's, oh, I'm going to disrupt you, and then, oh, I'm going to blackball you, and it's like, fine, well, I'm going to blackball you, and then I got blackballed, and it's like,
What do you think of precursors?
Honestly, this is my first time using precursors, because I've been using dual unit Forge Guards. I've been borrowing someone's unit, and actually now I'm using precursors. Honestly, I kind of like them. They're like a cheaper version of Forge Guard in a weird way. Because I feel like I get a bigger unit.
They're actually more expensive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, with UA and stuff.
Yeah, 2 more ones.
Well, they have less weapons.
Yep.
They have magic weapons.
Yep.
In one turn, they get Weapon Master. Honestly, I would want to run them with like the Gallant inside the list, probably with Ashland.
He's referring to Gallant.
Gallant, sorry, yeah, Gallant's funny. Because I can run it with either Damiamo or Ashland, which are my next 2 casters that I'll be playing. So I mean, I like them a lot. I like ranked attacks because I got kind of used to playing Zero Forge Commission with my the Dwarves and the Forge Guard having.
And also, guys, you might have noticed that the time between actual Battle Force that I've done, like the last one I did was against Bill with Retribution of Siren, that was about 3 months ago. We both had all of us here had very, very gruesome semesters. So now that it's finally over, you're going to be seeing a lot of video production ramp up. Like now.
Plus, well, there's also the issue with my Earthbreaker's arm.
Yes.
Wasn't like. It's like, oh, let me be a handicap for the next couple
games. The left arm of the Earthbreaker was basically, he refused to be assembled together properly. So he asked me right before we started doing the battle report to basically fix him up. I tried pinning it first. It still refused. I was like, green stuff, blue, go. And
yeah, I was hoping to actually have it finished painted, but I was worried that I'd have to simple green the whole entire arm and reassemble it piece by piece while it was attached. It was like it just wasn't. The 2 nooks weren't.
It wasn't
connecting.
flush. It was basically the 2 ends they weren't flat. They were kind of angled on each other. So it was basically finding the right spot just to add them on.
Which I did file it down so they would be flush, but I guess I didn't do it right, or it was just I think it was more wobbly, like the way it was cast, because that happens more than me actually filing. After 14 years, you'd expect me to get that good file.
And the list that I brought today was basically, I was doing a test run for this. It was just some idea I had. Now I know it doesn't work because the amount of Conquest, you're paying a lot of points for the guns. If you don't buff the guns, it's not really that effective since it's walking up and shooting and then it goes into punch up. But when it's only at 4 power strength, power 12 and then power 15 on the main gun, it's not really that great.
Well, that's why you need Thor Steinhammer.
That's why you always bring Thor.
Yeah, my Earthbreaker is 21 points. People will be like, what?
My Conquest is 21 points.
Yeah.
I bring Battlemakers.
Yeah, actually, this was my 2nd time ever using Dirty Meg, because I do not have a Goblin Tinker. I will be picking up 2 of those, keeping them behind Earthbreaker. Yeah, Thor Steinhammer tune-up, if you guys don't know what it does, it frees up so much focus. I pick, do I tune up all the attack rolls or damage rolls? I get free focus for boosting, essentially.
He gets to choose whether to boost all the attack rolls or all the damage rolls of that Ruled Jack.
With me dropping up to, I have 2 plus combat attack, well, up more than 2 attacks, and then all the guns I packed, which was nice. I did like the fact that I used the difficult terrain better this time against you with the crater shots, I believe. Yeah, crater shots. And then I think I got better with using Gorton's feet against you.
Oh, well, you didn't clip that much.
Yeah,
you stopped the Great Waves, which was kind of a big deal.
Yeah,
I stopped Conquest.
Yeah, and I still got Black Oil because you scattered on me. I was hoping to stop Black Oil so I can like go in there.
That was a perfect scatter. Scatter direction 1 inch.
Yeah, it was like, oh, well, this, actually when that happened, I realized I was probably going to lose game. So it was like, all right, I can't get the points. I will say that, because I spread out, that was also a different tactic, because I'm used to that, like, that rule-looking block of just everything's in this one formation, march. I'm trying to adjust my playstyle, because I did actually replicate the development of Mercenaries. I'm trying to get better with the Mercenaries. Anything else? Or?
No, that's all I can really think of. So,
yeah.
Thanks, guys, for watching. See you guys in the next battle report. Thank you.
And cut.